Peace, as the world defines it, is a contradiction in terms. It is sought through defense, preserved through control, and defined by the absence of conflict rather than the presence of truth. The ego offers many images of peace: diplomacy, negotiation, balance, compromise. But all are built upon the assumption that something must be managed, earned or restrained. Peace in this system is fragile and conditional, a temporary ceasefire between opposing desires. Sometimes peace is framed as calmness or stability, but only when the body is comfortable, the environment predictable, and agreement maintained. At other times, peace is equated with justice, but justice as defined by grievance, punishment, and repayment, not forgiveness. The peace offered here is always threatened, because it is always defined in opposition to something else. Its existence depends on the instability it claims to resolve. And yet, beneath all these attempts to describe peace, there is no understanding of what it is, only endless qualifications about what it is not. This is the ego's thought system, a labyrinth of conflicting ideas attempting to define what cannot be contained, and offering contradiction in place of certainty. Before even opening paragraph 1 of lesson 185, I want the peace of God, it becomes clear that the world has confused stillness with silence and safety with submission. The illusion has been carefully constructed, and the mind that believes in it now stands at its edge, surrounded by definitions, but starved of truth. This is the moment the mirror appears, not to reflect another distortion, but to expose the whole theatre for what it is, a projection with no substance. And now, with everything false brought into question, the only question left is whether the truth will be accepted or delayed again. Lesson 185 is not an observation, it is a decision. And the decision is this: will the peace of God be wanted above all things, or will the noise of the world still hold value? A Course in Miracles, Lesson 185. I want the peace of God. To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. Mighty companion, paragraph 1 of lesson 185 opens with a holy confrontation, not with the world, but with the mind that pretends to want peace, while still protecting its grievances. To say these words is nothing, but to mean them is everything. And now the spider flinches. For all its weaving, for all its careful construction of false peace and quiet conflict, the ego cannot mean these words, because to do so would shatter the web. To mean them is to stop spinning. The ego can say, I want the peace of God. It can tattoo it on the wall, print it on a shirt, whisper it in meditation, but the meaning, the living of those words requires surrender. Here is the difference between saying and meaning. Saying is a sound. Meaning is a decision. The world says peace in negotiations, at funerals, in parades and prayers. But look closer. Even in its quiet, the spider is still preparing its next thread. Here's a real-world example. A man says, I want peace in my marriage. But what he means is, I want my partner to stop triggering me. Another says, I want peace in my life, while clinging to the identity of the overachiever, terrified of stillness. A nation says, we want peace, while building more weapons. This is the ego saying the words, but never meaning them. To mean the peace of God is to no longer desire anything else. Not being right, not being heard, not being special, not even being understood. The spider's web is made of every desire other than peace. To mean, I want the peace of God is to turn away from the whole sticky architecture of control, defense, and image. The Course says, if you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form. Why? Because sorrow is the echo of wanting something else. Sorrow is born when the mind still believes it lacks, and the only reason it believes it lacks is because it has not yet accepted that what it is whole. To mean these words is to awaken from the dream of need. To mean these words is to remember that God is not missing, only forgotten. And as soon as that memory is restored, nothing else matters because nothing else is real. Heaven would be completely given. Not partially, not eventually, completely. But let's be clear, mighty companion. Heaven is not a place at the end of time. It's not a reward for endurance. It's not a celestial vacation from the body's pain. Heaven is the awareness of perfect oneness. It is the state of no opposite, the knowing that nothing can be added to what already is. So the moment this is meant, not said, heaven floods the mind, not like a river, but like the removal of a veil. And the Course says, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. Because when peace is accepted, death is impossible. When truth is known, illusion vanishes, not by battle, but by light. And so the first paragraph asks one thing only. Do these words still compete with other desires? Because if they do, they are not yet meant. But if they are meant, even for an instant, the spider stops spinning, the web dissolves, and the mirror reflects only God. That is peace, not declared, not achieved, accepted. No one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He wants the peace of God, and it is given him. For that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. Mighty companion. Paragraph 2 tears another thread from the web. The spider thought it could spin safety out of symbols, but now the symbols are falling apart in the light of what's truly wanted. No one can mean these words and not be healed. To mean, I want the peace of God, is to collapse the illusion that suffering has value, that conflict earns growth, that fear is noble, that guilt is necessary. To mean these words is to end all experiments with separation. He cannot play with dreams nor think himself a dream. So what does it mean to play with dreams? It means to dabble in illusion while pretending not to. It looks like saying I want peace while still scrolling for outrage, meditating in the morning, then gossiping by noon, trying to manifest abundance while resenting someone else's success, trying to heal but refusing to forgive, attending a church but secretly hoping someone else gets what's coming to them. That's dream play. It's spiritual theater. It's dressing up the ego in holy robes and asking it to teach love. And what does it mean to make a hell and think it real? It means to create a life around scarcity and defend it. To build an identity around trauma and refuse to let it be reinterpreted. To say, this betrayal defines me. To say, this loss is who I am now. To say, this fear is justified. And so hell is made. It's made from interpretation. And then it's guarded, not as an error to be corrected, but as a truth to be honored. But if the peace of God is truly wanted, it is given him. For that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. That's the law of heaven. It does not withhold. It only waits for willingness. So what does it look like when someone wants the peace of God? It looks like putting stillness above the need to win. It looks like laying down the sword before the argument even starts. It looks like releasing the story even if it was painful, especially if it was painful. It looks like waking up each morning and saying, "Let me not forget my function today." Wanting the peace of God doesn't always look like smiles. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like letting someone walk away without needing to explain. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness with no applause. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. And how do we know? You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few there are. Look around, a world still building armies, still arguing over history, still defining itself by sides, still celebrating winners and forgetting the rest. Look at how peace is marketed as a lifestyle but not lived as a decision. Look at how many say, "I want peace," but really mean, "I want control in a peaceful way." The mouth says anything, the mind repeats affirmations, but the heart still clutches the wound. And now this, the world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. Not two saints, not two spiritual gurus, not two qualified candidates, any two. Because the power is not in who they are in form, the power is in the singularity of their desire. Black and white, rich and poor, gay and straight, man and woman, Jew and Arab, atheist and believer. None of that matters if they both want only this, the peace of God. And if that is all they want, they are no longer two, they are one. The spider cannot survive this, it only lives in division, and when two become one, its web is useless. Because unity doesn't need silk threads to bind, it is already joined, it is already whole. So why would the world be completely changed? Because the world is the reflection of a mind in conflict. If even two minds stop pretending, stop performing, stop playing with dreams and defending their hells, then the reflection cannot hold. It must fall. And in its place, not a better world, but the memory of God, peace not postponed, peace not politicized, peace not purchased, peace accepted. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. To each, the hero of the dream is different, the outcome wanted not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Mighty companion. Here comes paragraph 3, and the spider starts shaking in the center of its web, because what it feared most is now being said plainly. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. Not because they take God's power, but because they stop pretending they have their own. This is not two minds overpowering reality. This is two minds surrendering the illusion of separation and discovering that they were never two to begin with. See, anything that comes from God is always one. There is no fragmentation in creation. There is no disunity in the changeless. For minds can only join in truth. And why is that, mighty companion? Because truth is the only thing that actually exists. Illusions don't join. They conflict, overlap, impersonate, perform, and shift, but they don't join. Try to link two hallucinations and see what happens. One sees a ladder, the other sees a lion. They both climb in opposite directions, calling it agreement. That's the world. So, what does it look like to join in truth? It looks like two people forgiving the same grievance because they remember it never happened. It looks like a silent agreement not to judge, not to correct, not to win, but to witness holiness in one another. It looks like devotion to something beyond the body's eyes. Now contrast that with joining in illusion. It looks like bonding over shared resentment, gossiping as a form of connection, agreeing that someone else is the problem, uniting in fear, politics, religion, victimhood, even spiritual superiority. It gives the appearance of unity, but it's a union of shadows. No foundation, no substance, no light. And that's why the lesson says, in dreams, no two can share the same intent. That is impossible. Because every dream is privately authored by the ego, crafted from personal history, individual wounds, conflicting desires. In dreams, the hero is always different. One is saving the world, another is getting revenge, another is seeking validation, another is escaping shame. And even when they appear side by side, they are not joined. They are playing different games, on different boards, using different rules, calling it relationship. Here's an example. Two people say they're in love, but one wants to be seen, and the other wants to disappear. One wants safety, and the other wants excitement. One wants control, and the other wants freedom. That's not one intent. That's competing narratives wearing matching rings. So what happens in dreams? Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns. Sometimes the one who's right is humbled. Sometimes the one who's wrong is rewarded. Sometimes the one who forgives is crucified. Sometimes the one who attacks is promoted. The ratio of gain to loss flips again and again, and just when the ego thinks it's on top, the game resets. Example, you get the job, then lose the marriage. You win the argument, then lose your peace. You build the wealth, then feel more empty than before. That's what the Course means. The ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on different aspects or another form. It's all a costume change. The spider builds a new pattern, but the web still traps. Because the dream world is built on the illusion of opposites. And as long as gain requires loss, as long as someone has to lose for someone else to win, there can be no real joining. But when two minds truly want only the peace of God, not their version of peace, not peace plus success, not peace as a reward for being right, but peace with no opposite, then illusion ends. And in that moment, the web unspools, the mirrors crack, and the two are no longer two, because they never were. That is truth, and only in truth can minds join. Yet compromise alone a dream can bring. Sometimes it takes the form of union, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams. They merely bargain. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take his place. And what he means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. Mighty companion. By the time we reach paragraph 4, the spider's strategy is fully exposed. Its masterpiece isn't rage, it's compromise. Not violent opposition, but quiet agreement to stay confused. Yet compromise alone a dream can bring. This is the ego's golden calf, not extremes, but moderation. Not conviction, but negotiation. Not wholeness, but balance between illusions. The dream doesn't survive on conflict, it survives on agreement to pretend. And the Course doesn't pull punches here. Sometimes it takes the form of union, but only the form. Think of two hands reaching out, but there's a wall of glass between them. They press together, form against form, silhouette to silhouette, but no real contact is made. That's the dream's union. It's form without content, sound without meaning, marriage without joining, peace without forgiveness. Because compromise is the goal of dreaming, not truth, not wholeness, but middle ground between false things. Now here's where it breaks down. Minds cannot unite in dreams, they merely bargain. Why can't minds unite in a dream? Because the dream is a lie. And lies can't join. They can only fluctuate, overlap, or adjust. In a dream, everyone's chasing something different. Everyone's truth is personal. Everyone's value system contradicts the next. So what happens instead of union? Bargaining. Here's an example of bargaining in a dream. A person says, "I'll stay in this relationship if you change." Another says, "I'll forgive you, but only if you admit you were wrong." Or, "I'll give God my Sunday mornings, but I'm keeping my judgments the rest of the week." That's not peace, that's a contract, that's an exchange rate between illusions. So what bargain can give the peace of God? None, because peace is not negotiated, it's accepted. Illusions come to take his place. The peace of God has no form. It doesn't look like comfort, agreement, money, applause, or victory. But in compromise, illusions are traded in as substitutes. One illusion says, "If I find the right person, I'll have peace." Another, "If I earn enough, I'll feel secure." Another, "If I'm finally understood, I'll be whole." These are all bargains dressed up as purpose. And once they take God's place, once they become the goal, then love is forgotten. What he means, what love means, what God means, is lost in the sleeping mind's intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. That's the game. I'll get mine. I'll protect mine. I'll mourn your loss if I don't have to feel my own. I'll vote for your pain if it means I don't have to feel powerless. Let's name some examples. A parent compromises integrity to protect their child's reputation while judging another's child as reckless. A nation defends peace by bombing others, calling it collateral damage for freedom. A spiritual teacher claims to offer awakening but demands loyalty, praise, and obedience. A person stays silent in the face of injustice, calling it diplomacy. Compromise everywhere, but where is truth? Where is wholeness? Where is God? Why would God's Son need to compromise? What lack could he be negotiating? What split is he trying to bridge, if he was never separate? When you look up the word compromise, what do you see? A settlement of differences. But with one will, what differences could exist? What sides, what middle ground, what concessions, what fractures in God need glue? And if something is given up, something you really want, how can there be integrity? There is only resentment, quiet, buried, delayed. And what calls itself peace becomes a truce with fear. So here's the bottom line. In God's will, there is no split. In truth, there are no sides. And in love, there are no bargains. The spider's finest web is the illusion that compromise is virtue. But the moment this is seen, the threads lose all tension. There's nothing left to hold. No tension to balance. No difference to negotiate. Just one light. Just one will. Just one peace. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words who wants illusions, and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions. He has looked on them and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. Dreams are one to him. And he has learned their only difference is one of form, for one will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest. Mighty companion. Paragraph 5 cuts the final anchor line on the spider's web. No more adjustments, no more silk diplomacy, no more patching the dream with prettier threads. To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. Not some, not the painful ones, all. And that right there is where the spider panics, because the ego doesn't fear pain. It thrives on it. What it fears is the loss of dreams it still calls sweet. So what does it look like in practice to renounce all dreams? It looks like this. No longer believing that a better body will bring peace. No longer chasing the perfect partner to feel whole. No longer hoping a job title will make up for inner emptiness. No longer seeking justice as defined by attack. No longer depending on praise to feel worthy or blame to feel safe. It's not about abandoning responsibilities. It's about no longer investing belief in illusions, not giving them the power to define identity, dictate value, or promise salvation. For no one means these words who wants illusions and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions. This is deep because it's not just the illusions that must be questioned. It's the means that chase them. How do we seek the means that bring illusions? We seek by reading another self-help book to fix the self, using relationships to heal abandonment wounds the ego invented, sacrificing peace for performance, using religion as a scoreboard. Thinking therapy alone can restore wholeness without truth, valuing outcomes more than honesty. Even spiritual paths can be used to keep the dream going, if the goal is still form. And so the lesson says, he has looked on them and found them wanting. That means the shine wore off, the promises failed, the thrill didn't last, the achievement didn't satisfy. Found them wanting means, I tried to extract meaning from what has none. I tried to make permanence out of what is temporary. I tried to make home in a place I do not belong. It is the honest sigh of the mind that finally says, this is not it. This is not what I want. And from that place, not despair but clarity, now he seeks to go beyond them. Because he's not fooled anymore. He's not tempted by a shinier illusion. He doesn't say, this time will be different. He says, none of this is real. Another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. Why? Because all dreams are projections of lack. They are made to hide wholeness. They are screens on which guilt is played out and purpose is forgotten. A dream is but a dream is but a dream is but a dream. 4 walls, different paint. Same trap, same ceiling, same despair. The Course says, dreams are one to him, and he has learned their only difference is one of form. For one will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest. Change the face, change the place, change the costume. But if the goal is still the same, to find meaning in illusion, the outcome cannot change. Show one dream that didn't end in disillusionment. Show one pursuit that left the self permanently fulfilled. Show one form of happiness that did not depend on time, condition, or approval. You can't, because there are none. That's why this paragraph is not bitter, it's liberating. It says, now the mind has seen the pattern, now the trap is visible, now the spider's silk no longer holds. It was never about having better dreams. It was about waking up. To mean I want the peace of God is to say, I will not bargain for dreams. I will not compromise for illusions. I will not reach into shadows hoping for light. The peace of God does not require disappointment. It requires honesty. And with that, the thread breaks and the web fades. The mind which means that all it wants is peace must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given in a form each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson will meet with acceptance and be truly learned. Mighty companion, now the lesson pivots into joining, the very thing the ego cannot do. Paragraph 6 lays down the law of peace. It cannot be possessed alone, it can only be remembered together. The mind which means that all he wants is peace must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. Why is that? Because separation was the belief that peace could be private, that salvation could be personal, that healing could occur in isolation. But peace is shared reality, not an individual achievement. The spider whispered, "Just fix yourself first." The ego said, "Go off alone and perfect your mind." But peace doesn't come in solitude, it comes in union. Not form-based union, but the joining of intent. One mind that means it must join with others that mean it, and in that shared will, peace returns. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given. In a form, each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. This is divine curriculum tailored to the dreamer. If the asking is sincere, the lesson cannot be missed. He'll be led to exactly what breaks the illusion for him. So what does that look like in practice? A hardened businessman wakes up after losing everything and sees that he never lost anything real. A grieving mother hears one line from a stranger and knows that love never dies. A prisoner reads a single sentence in a forgotten book and weeps, not for guilt, but for freedom. Each moment, engineered by the Spirit, not to punish, but to cut the thread of a dream that no longer serves. The Course says, whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it, if his asking is sincere. So what is sincere asking? It's the moment the mind stops bargaining. It no longer asks God to fix the dream, it asks to wake from it. It says, I don't want this anymore. Show me another way. It no longer hides conditions behind its prayers. It doesn't say, heal me, but don't touch this relationship, or free me, but let me keep this identity. Sincere asking is, whatever it takes, wherever it leads, I will follow peace. And when that prayer is offered without deceit, the form the lesson takes is undeniable. Maybe it's a betrayal that reveals invulnerability. Maybe it's a loss that unmasks true value. Maybe it's stillness in the middle of chaos. Whatever it is, it will be understood. It will be recognized. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson would meet with acceptance and be truly learned. Why? Because the ego is still editing the curriculum. It still wants awakening on its terms. It wants peace without giving up control. It wants healing without undoing identity. It wants God without surrendering self. So even if the perfect lesson is placed before him, he will call it an attack. He will call it unfair. He will call it suffering. And he will reject it. Because the asking wasn't real. It was a negotiation, not a prayer. The spider will say, teach me how to fly, but don't take my web. But the Spirit doesn't teach illusions how to evolve. It teaches the mind how to remember what is already true. So this paragraph is clear. Peace must be shared. The lesson will be given. The form will be perfect, but only sincerity can make it visible. That's 6, mighty companion. The web is loosening now. The silk is unraveling. The light is breaking through. Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. We want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. These words do not request another dream be given us. They do not ask for compromise, nor try to make another bargain in the hope that there may yet be one that can succeed where all the rest have failed. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain, requesting the eternal in the place of shifting dreams which seem to change in what they offer, but are one in nothingness. Mighty companion. Now the lesson turns inward not with silence, but with devotion. The kind of devotion that doesn't beg but claims. Paragraph 7 is a declaration, not a request. It's the moment the spider's game is named and the web stops looking like home. Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. Not just repeating, not just affirming, but meaning, living, aligning. What does this look like in practicing? It looks like a mind sitting still and not pretending anymore. No more spiritual theater. No more asking for guidance with fingers crossed behind the back. No more reading the course while secretly hoping to win the world. This practice is not about doing more. It's about doing honestly. It's not about how long. It's about how true. To say, "I want the peace of God," and really mean it, is to sit with no alternative, no wish list, no backup plan, no decorations. No, we want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. Why is it not idle? Because this is not ambition. This is remembrance. The peace of God is not a thing added to a life. It is the truth behind it. It's the current running beneath every illusion, the stillness underneath the noise. It is your inheritance. How could an inheritance be idle? It's already given, it's already real, but it must be wanted. And here's the shift. These words do not request another dream be given us. This is not about asking for better circumstances. It's not, "God, give me peace and a soulmate," or "God, give me peace through success," or "God, give me peace after justice is served." This is not about manifesting in form. It's about releasing form altogether. They do not ask for compromise, nor try to make another bargain in the hope that there may yet be one that can succeed where all the rest have failed. This is that spider again, still trying one more pattern. This one's different, it says. This dream will work. This job, this marriage, this movement, this enlightenment retreat, this one will hold. But every bargain has the same ending. Every illusion has the same core, 100% failure rate. And now the mind sees it. Now the spider's masterpiece looks like a trap again. Now the mirror shows only the face of truth. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain. So what does in vain mean, mighty companion? It means without purpose, without substance, without result, without success, without truth. It means chasing a shadow for water. It means digging in sand for roots. It means loving a lie and wondering why it hurts. To say these illusions are in vain is to stop pretending they gave anything real. It is the end of excuses. It is the end of loyalty to what never worked. Requesting the eternal in the place of shifting dreams. This is where the mind finally says, "I'm not asking for peace inside the world anymore. I'm asking to remember what the world was made to cover." The shifting dreams. Oh, mighty companion. Look how they parade, changing names, styles, genders, causes, stories, fears, triumphs, but they're all one in nothingness. Turn on the news. It doesn't matter what's trending. It changes, it evolves, it inflames. Then it's forgotten, and a new banner rises, and a new illusion claims it will fix the last one. What a one in nothingness. That means they're not even different, not at the root, because nothing multiplied by 1,000 is still nothing. Take any illusion, dress it up, give it a crown, give it tear, but if it's built on separation, it must dissolve. How can you take nothing and get something out of it? You can't, but the ego tries, the spider spins, the world claps, and the soul waits. But now the mind is done with that. Now the words are meant. Now the inheritance is claimed. Now the web dissolves, not in pain, but in peace. Today, devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind to find the dreams you cherish still. What do you ask for in your heart? Forget the words you use in making your requests. Consider but what you believe will comfort you and bring you happiness. But be you not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for others. They are one. And being one question should be asked of all of them. Is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God? Mighty companion. Now the lesson walks into the secret room, not with condemnation, but with a candle. Today, devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind to find the dreams you cherish still. The web may be thinning, but the spider has a final defense, the hidden thread, the cherished illusion, the one thing still protected in the shadow of the altar. So the call now is for honesty without fear, not to shame the dream, but to bring it to light. What do you ask for in your heart? This isn't about what's posted on the vision board or what's prayed aloud in morning stillness. It's about what the heart still believes will comfort. The lesson says, forget the words you use in making your requests, because the mouth will say, I want peace, while the heart whispers, but just one more promotion, just one more apology, just one more chance to be seen. So now the question pierces deeper. What do I still believe will save me? Examples, mighty companion. A woman says she wants to be free, but in her heart still believes love means being chosen. A man says he wants peace, but still finds identity in the idea that he's been wronged. A student of truth says she wants only awakening, but still chases validation from spiritual circles. These are not sins, they are just threads the spider didn't want to lose. But now they must be seen, without judgment, without hierarchy, without hiding. But be you not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Don't panic if old desires still surface. Don't punish the mind for its echoes. This part of the path is about seeing, not fixing. Let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for others. Now this is where the spider hides best. It says, these dreams are fine, these are spiritual, these are selfless, but those over there, hide them, be ashamed. But the course levels the playing field, they are one. Not because all forms are equal in experience, but because none are true in essence. The dream of sainthood and the dream of revenge are different costumes, but the same stage. One may wear white robes, one may carry chains, but neither leads to peace, because both are built on identity in form. And so the lesson gives a single question. Is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God? Not, is this wrong? Not, is this shameful? But is this worth trading eternity? Is this resentment more valuable than remembering love? Is this ambition worth more than stillness? Is this persona, this trauma, this dream self, this idea of being somebody, worth more than everything real? That's the test, not to deny desire, but to reveal its cost. The spider's web only remains when one strand is called precious, but when every dream is held up to this question, would I choose this instead of heaven? Then the silk snaps. The illusion folds, and the light begins to touch even the hidden corners. So today the practice is not to judge, but to expose, not to fear what is found, but to ask, gently and clearly, is this what I would have instead of peace? This is the choice you make. Be not deceived that it is otherwise. No compromise is possible in this. You choose God's peace or you have asked for dreams, and dreams will come as you requested them. Yet will God's peace come just as certainly and to remain with you forever. It will not be gone with every twist and turning of the road, to reappear, unrecognized, in forms which shift and change with every step you take. Mighty companion, paragraph 9 lays down the sword. It looks the spider dead in the eyes and says, there is no middle. This is the choice you make. Peace or dreams, reality or illusion, God or fear. Be not deceived that it is otherwise. The ego begs for a third option. Can I have peace in the dream? Can I keep my grievances and still awaken? Can I keep my identity and still know truth? But the course is mercifully direct. No compromise is possible in this. Truth does not negotiate. Love does not split itself in half. God does not meet the ego halfway. The Son of God is not here to compromise on truth. Why not? Because truth is not partial, and to accept less than all of it is to accept none of it. This whole world is built on the fantasy that peace and dreams can coexist, that you can serve two masters, that you can say, "I want peace," while chasing control, status, validation, revenge. But here's the law, plain and clear. You choose God's peace, or you have asked for dreams. And this choice is always honored. And dreams will come as you requested them. Yes, even the painful ones. Because the mind is powerful, and projection makes perception. Ask for guilt? You'll see reasons to feel guilty. Ask for safety through control? The world will seem dangerous unless you're in charge. Ask for worth through performance? The world will applaud and then forget. Dreams arrive on schedule, but they are not gifts. They are mirages that mimic the request, but never fulfill it. Yet now the contrast comes. Yet will God's peace come just as certainly, and to remain with you forever. Here's the difference. Dreams respond, then disappear. God's peace arrives, then remains. Because it was never absent, just refused. God's peace doesn't shift. It doesn't depend on who's in the room, what day it is, what the bank account says, or how the news is trending. It's changeless because it comes from what is changeless. And here's the closing image of this paragraph. It will not be gone with every twist and turning of the road, to reappear unrecognized in forms which shift and change with every step you take. That's the dream. You take a step and the goalpost moves. You reach one mountaintop and another appears. You think you've healed, and a new wound is uncovered. You think you've forgiven, and another face wears the same offense. The spider calls that progress, but really it's just recycling confusion in a different costume. The dream offers peace, then moves the terms. It gives comfort, then takes it back. It promises arrival, but only sells tickets to a wheel. God's peace does not do that. It does not disappear when circumstances change. It does not vanish when someone doesn't like you. It does not shift forms to stay ahead of you. God's peace is recognizable. It is stable. It is here. But only when it is truly wanted, not bargained for, not scheduled later, not squeezed in between goals. So this paragraph, mighty companion, brings the web to its final thread. Choose. No compromise, no blending, no negotiation. Just one question. Do I want the changeless or do I want the dream? You want the peace of God. And so do all who seem to seek for dreams. For them as well as for yourself, you ask but this when you make this request with deep sincerity. For thus you reach to what they really want, and join your own intent with what they seek above all things, perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you. You have been weak at times, uncertain in your purpose, and unsure of what you wanted, where to look for it, and where to turn for help in the attempt. Help has been given you. And would you not avail yourself of it by sharing it? Mighty companion. Now we reach paragraph 10, and something beautiful happens. The lesson turns from inward honesty to outward extension. The spider's web is nearly gone, and now comes the call to share the peace that broke the spell. You want the peace of God, and so do all who seem to seek for dreams. That's the miracle vision right there. Even the ones chasing illusions want the same thing. They just don't know it yet. Behind every mask, behind every attack, every addiction, every ambition, is the same silent prayer. Please show me that I'm safe. Please tell me I'm not alone. Please let it be true that love still lives. So when the mind says, I want the peace of God with deep sincerity, you ask but this for them as well as yourself. That's the joining, that's the healing, that's the undoing of the entire ego thought system. It's not about preaching. It's not about correcting anyone's path. It's about silently teaching by what you value. For thus you teach to what they really want, and join your own intent with what they seek above all things, perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you. You become the mirror they forgot they were looking for, not by telling them what's wrong, but by refusing to chase what has no value. You teach peace by embodying it. And now the lesson reaches back to acknowledge the road that brought you here. You have been weak at times, uncertain in your purpose, unsure of what you wanted, where to look for it, and where to turn for help in the attempt. Ain't that the truth? Chasing one dream after another. Thinking peace could be found in clarity about the world, trying to rearrange form while the formless waited patiently. Help has been given you, and would you not avail yourself of it by sharing it? Now comes the key. Peace is not possessed, it is extended, or it is forgotten. What good is the love if it's not extended? If it's hoarded, it's not how it was given you. And what was the peace of God but the end of hiding? So why return to hiding now? Why cover the light you've remembered? Why tuck away the joy like it's some secret stash? Why hold on to the healing as if it's for one heart only? Share the yummy yummy. That's it. That's the metaphysics and the metaphor right there. What cannot be shared is not real. What can be shared, peace, love, stillness, forgiveness, is the proof that it was never lost. No one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find it. For he merely asks that he deceive himself no longer by denying to himself what is God's will. Who can remain unsatisfied who asks for what he has already? Who could be unanswered who requests an answer which is his to give? The peace of God is yours. Mighty companion. Paragraph 11 is the quiet thunder. The web is gone. The mirror is still. And now the lesson says plainly what the ego could never afford to admit. There is no such thing as an unanswered prayer for peace. No one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find it, for he merely asks that he deceive himself no longer, by denying to himself what is God's will. Peace isn't earned. It isn't summoned. It isn't imported. It's uncovered. To ask for peace sincerely is to say, I will not pretend anymore. I will not keep choosing the veil and calling it reality. You are not asking God to give you something new. You are asking to stop denying what was always true. This is why the Course teaches that peace is never missing, only refused. So now the question is posed. Who can remain unsatisfied who asks for what he has already? And here's the paradox of the world. Everyone's asking for something. But the very act of asking from lack is the belief that lack is real. So peace cannot be felt while it's still being searched for, because the search says, I don't have it yet. It's out there. It will come later. It will come when... And even when the world gives what was asked for, the satisfaction slips through. The thrill fades, the high drops, the noise returns. Why? Because the request wasn't for peace. It was for a form of peace, and form can't hold what is eternal. Who could be unanswered, whose request an answer which is his to give? This is not a riddle, it's a reversal of logic. You've been trained to believe that God must answer your prayer. But what if you are the answer? What if the peace you seek is in you right now, waiting to be accepted and extended? That's why the Course says, the peace of God is yours. Not will be, is. It's the original condition. It's the unshaken inheritance. It's the unmoved truth behind every illusion. You are not here to find it. You are here to stop refusing it. And so the lesson folds gently into this realization. You've been asking for what you already have, and confusing dissatisfaction with lack, when it was only misdirection. Peace doesn't come, peace is, and when the mind stops pretending it is missing, it appears. For you was peace created, given you by its creator, and established as his own eternal gift. How can you fail when you but ask for what he wills for you? And how could your request be limited to you alone? No gift of God can be unshared. It is this attribute that sets the gifts of God apart from every dream that ever seemed to take the place of truth. Mighty companion, paragraph 12 is pure radiance. The spider is long gone now. The threads have vanished like smoke in sunlight, and what remains is what was never absent. For you was peace created, given you by his creator, and established as his own eternal gift. This is not metaphor, this is not hope, this is not conditional theology, this is truth. Peace was not invented in time. It was not stitched together after the fall. It was not handed out in pieces based on merit. Peace was baked into your being. It's the signature of your creation. It's what God gave himself by creating you. And then the line, the one that leaves no room for doubt. How can you fail when you but ask for what he wills for you? Can a wave fail to be wet? Can light fail to shine? Can the Son of God fail to remember what is his by nature? Failure isn't possible, only delay. Not because God withholds, but because the mind resists receiving. This is a course in removal, not attainment. Then it continues. And how could your requests be limited to you alone? Because the moment you remember the truth, everyone remembers with you. You're not waking up alone. There's no such thing as a private salvation. No gift of God can be unshared. Say it again. No gift of God can be unshared. If it's not shared, it's not from God. Peace doesn't isolate. Love doesn't divide. Joy doesn't choose favorites. Truth doesn't skip people. The sun shines on everyone, on everything. The course isn't using poetic language here. It's showing the contrast between what's real and what the ego made. The ego's thought system runs on who deserves, who qualifies, who gets there first. God's system has no such architecture. It just gives. And here's the core. It is this attribute that sets the gifts of God apart from every dream that ever seemed to take the place of truth. The ego gives in fractions. God gives in fullness. The ego gives with strings. God gives with no conditions. The ego gives to gain. God gives because giving is. So what's the takeaway, mighty companion? If what you've received can't be shared, then it wasn't the real gift. If your peace depends on someone else suffering, if your joy requires someone else losing, if your success came from comparison, then it's not God's gift. It's a dream dressed up in gold. But when the peace that enters you begins to flow outward, when others feel lighter just by being near you, when you no longer fear someone else's light dimming your own, then you've accepted the real thing. Peace was made for you, and it was made to be shared, not divided, not diluted, shared. No one can lose, and everyone must gain whenever any gift of God has been requested and received by anyone. God gives but to unite. To take away is meaningless to him. And when it is as meaningless to you, you can be sure you share one will with him, and he with you. And you will also know you share one will with all your brothers, whose intent is yours. Mighty companion. Paragraph 13 is the crescendo, not a climax of sound, but of stillness. The spider is gone, the mirrors are clear, the dream has nothing left to offer. And here we hear the deep heartbeat of God's reality. No one can lose and everyone must gain whenever any gift of God has been requested and received by anyone. No one can lose, let that echo. That alone disqualifies the entire ego thought system. The whole world of competition, revenge, status and scarcity, wiped clean by that one truth. No one can lose, and everyone must gain when one person accepts God's gift. That's not metaphor, that's metaphysics. When a mind accepts peace, it radiates, it extends, it corrects perception beyond the individual, because truth cannot be contained. So what are these gifts of God, mighty companion? And what do they look like in the dream, through the veil, in form? Let's name them, let's ground them. Peace. When a woman releases a long-held grudge and feels the tension leave her body, her children feel it too. A workplace softens, a conversation shifts, a city breathes easier. Forgiveness. A man in prison forgives the one who betrayed him. And somehow, halfway across the world, a stranger finds the strength to let go of their father's absence. Clarity. A teen has a sudden insight about their worth, and without saying a word, they stop projecting pain onto others at school. The hallway quiets. Joy. A mother laughs without fear for the first time in years. Her children don't know why they're laughing too, but they are. Compassion. A tired nurse holds a stranger's hand without judgment, and that hand becomes the doorway to a healing the patient didn't even know they needed. These are not small ripples. These are undoings of separation in real time. And why? God gives but to unite, not to divide. The ego gives to compare, to trap, to leverage, to measure. But God gives because giving is the only thing real can do. To take away is meaningless to him. God has no minus sign, no subtraction, no deduction, no punishment clause. To take away is meaningless, because in heaven there is no opposite to abundance. The idea of loss is as foreign to God as form is to formlessness. And now comes the key. And when it is as meaningless to you, you can be sure you share one will with him, and he with you. When you no longer believe that anyone must lose for you to win, when you no longer think someone has to fall for you to rise, when subtraction becomes absurd, you have remembered God. Because now you know, what is mine is yours, and what is yours is forever ours. And then it expands. You will also know you share one will with all your brothers and all your sisters whose intent is yours. Not the same lifestyle, not the same beliefs, not the same language or rituals, but the same desire, the same inner pull, the same decision. I want the peace of God above all else. And when two or more share that one intent, the dream cannot hold. Mighty companion, that's paragraph 13. The final strand has been given to the light. The will of God is remembered as your own. And peace, not as a visitor but as a home, has come to stay. It is this one intent we seek today, uniting our desires with the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair, the love attack would hide, the brotherhood that hate has sought to sever, but which still remains as God created it. With help like this beside us, can we fail today as we request the peace of God be given us? Mighty companion, now we close the circle. Now the dream has been unspun. Now the mirror reflects only light, and now the voice that always waited speaks in full. It is this one intent we seek today. One intent, not a dozen goals in competition, not split desires pulling in opposite directions. One, uniting our desires with the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair. The love attack would hide, the brotherhood that hate has sought to sever, but which still remains as God created it. Here's the thing, mighty companion. Nothing that love made has been undone, only hidden. Attack can't destroy it, hate can't undo it, separation can't rewrite it. The spider spun its threads, but it never touched the truth. And today, we remember the only thing that matters, that we share one intent, to wake, to remember, to accept what was never taken. This isn't just my peace. This isn't just your freedom, it's the peace of every heart. The course doesn't say, unite with those who agree. It says, without exception. That includes the friend and the enemy, the wounded and the wounding, the forgotten and the famous, the imprisoned and the powerful. All of them want the same thing. They just lost sight of the asking. And now we come to the end, and yet the beginning. With help like this beside us, can we fail today, as we request the peace of God be given us? What help is that, mighty companion? It's the Christ in every brother. It's the memory of God behind every veil. It's the Holy Spirit who walked every crooked path we tried and left the light on at every turn. It's the still small voice whispering, "You are not alone, and you never were." This is the true independence. Not freedom from a tyrant, but from the thought system that made tyrants seem real. Not independence from people, but from guilt, from fear, from lack, from separation. So on this July 4th, let this be our declaration. We are already free. We are not captives. We are not broken. We are not bound. We have chosen to remember our one intent. We have chosen the peace of God, and we have chosen it together. That is freedom. That is peace. That is the will of God remembered at last. So, mighty companion, we don't ask for a new dream. We ask to wake. We don't ask for more time. We ask for what is timeless. And with help like this beside us, we cannot fail. We want the peace of God, and it is given. That's paragraph 14. That's the close of the lesson. That's the resurrection of what never died. Happy Freedom Day, mighty companion. Let's walk in peace. Amen.